Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Friday, the 19th of November, comes to you from London. And we're seeing gas prices down over 6% this morning. We made the call out to clients this morning on gas prices going bearish today. We had a few downside targets, and that's increased since the openings. Is why it's important to monitor the position after the call. But we're seeing European gas prices falling away, so that's quite key. We'll come back to the energy mix in a minute, and we start by looking at the dollar index on the macro level. What's happening in the markets? Quite a lot of red on the screen this morning. So we are seeing the dollar having another strong end to the week. So two weekly candles there showing that strength. Remembering this is the weekly, daily and 60-minute chart and the corresponding point and figure targets. And of course you can run Updata on any of these data services. So you just literally plug and play the data you want. It's compatible with Bloomberg, Icon. Yeah, a lot of free data services as well, Trayport, etc. So you just link your Updata system up and then you can do your charts out of the box. So I'm using Refinitiv Icon. If you're a private user, Metastock Zenith is the same feed. So really powerful there. So we're seeing the dollar looking strong. That means that the euro is looking weaker, and we're seeing that fall away there. A really bad week for the euro. We did put a post on LinkedIn yesterday just pointing out that the euro was really falling away. And if we look at sterling, we're sitting at 134. Quite big moves on interest rate rises for sterling last week, but we're just falling away now. So really there's that capitulation going. That's in line with this medium-term downtrend. Against the euro, of course, it's a different story. Sterling having jumped, hitting that 119 level yesterday, making a new 18-month high. So sterling really does have the upper hand against the euro, but is falling against that stronger dollar. Looking at Bitcoin, it's not been a great week for Bitcoin. We've got this big bearish candle here. The fact that we did make the new high is significant. We have taken off a couple of targets here. That's quite significant. So we are seeing a couple of the targets coming off, but that 83,000 target long term still in train. Looking at the S&P 500 index, it was actually up 0.33% yesterday. Still 6% on all three time frames to upside from here. So the market's still looking strong. Of course, the last couple of weeks we have been really going sideways on US equities, but the reality is we're still holding that bullish position. The same is true of the Nasdaq. It actually nudged higher yesterday, so making a new high, quite significant, of course. And if we look at the futures this morning, the S&P future down 0.2%, but that Nasdaq continues to power ahead, up 0.3% as we go into the end of the week. And of course, it's Thanksgiving next week, so it'll be interesting to see how the market deals with that. Looking at the VIX volatility, it is up slightly, so we are just relatively flat, and no real concerns there on the fear index. The DAX in Germany is down slightly. The CAC 40 is also down slightly. Japan was actually up 0.5%, but the Hang Seng fell. Woes continue there. Alibaba shares had a big fall, 10% lower. That's not helping Asian stocks, although we did see China was up slightly, up 1%, and the Sensex in India was actually down 0.2%. So quite a mixed picture in Asia, and the Aussie market up 0.25%. Really has been seesawing quite a lot of late. The Aussie market just struggling to break higher. Looking at some of the we'll look at the energy mix in a minute, but looking at some of the soft commodities, wheat continues to power ahead. It had a really strong week last week. This week has just held those gains, but those targets are really there for wheat to run to. So that still fuels some inflationary fears. Gold is back up this morning, holding on to the gains that we've seen in so far in November, looking strong. Did fall away these last few days, but it looks like it's recovering now, so still looking good. Silver up very slightly. Palladium actually still not looking great. This is the odd man out in the precious metals, just looking a little bit weaker there. Copper had a little bit of a rise, still holding the gains that we've seen over the last year or so. US 10-year yields down 2% this morning, so so we're seeing that falling to 1.55%. So just a little bit of a fallback, having had that recovery over the last couple of months, just giving up some ground, but there's lots of support there on the long-term chart. Taking a look now at the energy mix, we'll start by looking at Brent Crude. down 2% this morning. We called it neutral on the basis that we were hitting resistance. We did have some upside targets. That's all changed. This is why the picture just changes. Since then, this morning, we've got some new downside targets, now looking bearish on Brent Crude. And the fact that we are making this lower low and having had the lower high there, that is not good news for the longer term trend on Brent. And so we are seeing, in fact, the crude oil prices might well have topped, having put in that lower high, lower low. That's the pattern we always look for, the end of a trend. New downside targets coming in, so quite significant. And this thrust down on the 60-minute will give us a new downside target. This is my daily, my 60-minute, my daily 60-minute, 1 minute. So I've got a medium term, short term, and very short term, i.e. today, view of the market. And that's how this is the chart we use to call the day each day for our clients. WTI is down 1.7%. Again, that's started to fall away quite heavily. New downside targets there to play for. US nat gas was a difficult call this morning. We went neutral because we're just teetering along here and we didn't have any real clear targets. But again, we are just seeing a little bit of a pattern there of the lower high. So we do need to be mindful of that lower low. Below about 470 would be bad for US nat gas. Coal actually bounced a little bit yesterday, so it is finding some long-term support on the cloud and just starting to come through on the 60-minute chart, but not enough yet to really call it away. Emissions is falling slightly this morning. Again, we were neutral here purely because we didn't have the upside targets to play for. Looking at MBP, as we've been speaking, that's now deteriorating to nearly 7% down, and TTF down 6.5%. Those downside targets now to play for. Keep an eye on your 1 minute charts. And of course, if you're using OTC data like Trayport, you'll have clarity on the targets there as well, coming in real time. So just keep an eye on those. And don't forget to use your percentage box sizes. This will be much better when you've had big rises. Arithmetic box sizes will give you too much volatility in the chart. So it's just another key thing. We covered that in our training course, of course. German power's down 4% this morning. Not looking great there. Looking like it made a little bit of a lower high there. Watch for this move below 124.75. That would be a lower low. Again, the OTC targets will be powerful there. And if we look at the quarterly on Nordic Power, we are just, again, we've got targets in either direction this morning, so keep an eye on those as well. Last of all, a quick look at the COVID cases in Europe. Not looking good in Austria and the Netherlands, of course. We're seeing Germany now just starting to surpass the UK number of cases, and these are smooth, so there is a little bit of a lag here. And then we're seeing France and Italy just starting to accelerate as well. Looking at on an individual country basis, we had Belgium up 20% today, so that's not looking good at all. We've got Hungary, Slovakia, really Central Europe, Poland, Czech Republic. We're seeing a lot of moves there. Netherlands, of course, we've talked about. The US just ticking up as well yesterday, up 8%, so that's not looking good. And the UK just sitting steady at the moment. But COVID is not done, and this might come back to spook market, so something to keep an eye on. That's it for today. Until Monday, have a great weekend. Happy charting. See you then.